Good morning. Again, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us for this tribute to the living legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I am James Wimbush, Vice President and Dean here at IU, and on behalf of Indiana University, the Office of the Provost, the Office of the Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Multicultural Affairs, it is an honor for me to welcome you to the celebration of Martin Luther King and his legacy. Before we begin, I would like to thank the Hannah Marks Trio for the wonderful music this morning. Hannah, yes. Hannah, who is a senior, plays bass. Lucas plays piano, and Cammie plays drums. They're all students here at IU, very talented students, as you know. And so please join me in thanking them again for the wonderful performance this morning. I would also like to thank all of you for joining us today. This is a cold, a bit chilly morning. And you are here, and we are always so pleased to have such a wonderful crowd to be here to help us celebrate this important day. We have so many members of the university's senior administration, the senior campus leadership, many faculty, many students, many staff. We're just so glad that you're all here with us. It is all too easy to see Martin Luther King Jr. Day as a day off or an opportunity for a long weekend. However, here at IU, we see it as a day on, a time to reconnect with our communities, celebrate the progress that has been made, and look forward to the work to come. The Leadership Breakfast is just the first of many events today. You can visit our MLK Day site, mlkcelebration.indiana.edu, to learn more. And please make sure that you use MLKIU hashtag when posting about today's events. As we gather for this year's Leadership Breakfast, we're also kicking off a year of exciting celebrations throughout the university. If you don't know, this is our bicentennial. I am thrilled to note that as of today, we are officially by one day, less than a year away from Indiana University's 2020 bicentennial celebration. For 200 years, this university has been committed to fulfilling the promise, a commitment that we make sure is available to all students, faculty, and staff who call our university home. Our keynote speaker, who I'm excited about, Tamika Catchings, joins us today as part of the Bicentennial Lecture Series, one of the many university-wide events taking place to celebrate our history and set a course for the next century. You'll hear more about that series later in today's events. I just have to add that given our current political and social moment, gatherings like today are more important than ever. In times when the value of diversity and inclusion is being questioned, when hate is being emboldened, and our elected representatives defend white supremacy, a more equitable future can feel at times farther away than ever. However, as Martin Luther King famously said, and how he would often say, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. Through his life and legacy, Dr. King made clear that hard work, dedication, and love will bring a brighter day. As we work toward this future, we must use days like today to uplift each other and embrace the community we all hold dear. The fact that this gathering takes place over breakfast is actually no coincidence. Throughout his life, Martin Luther King often met with his colleagues over breakfast to avoid the challenges of meeting during work hours. Held in secret, these meetings became the staging ground from which Dr. King and his colleagues helped launch the civil rights movement. By being here today, you have become a part of this legacy. And just as Dr. King's breakfast meetings lit the spark of a more equitable present, it is my hope that today's breakfast will be the foundation for an even better future. Now, it is my great pleasure to introduce IU Bloomington Provost and Executive Vice President, Loren Roble. I need not tell you, you know for yourself that she's not only committed to diversity and inclusion in what she says, but we see it in her work. Please welcome my good friend and colleague, Provost Roble.
Good morning, everybody. I know that every single one of you this morning, maybe not every last one of you, had this one moment this morning where you were something. You know, maybe you were trying to get the ice off your windshield wipers. Maybe you realized that your back gate was frozen closed. Maybe you thought about the snow you should have shoveled yesterday when you tried to get out your front door. But you're all here. And I always think that on Martin Luther King Day, when I see a room like this, and I recognize that we've all had to overcome that initial moment where we're thinking, do I get up? Do I keep going? Do I get out the door? Do I make this moment of energy and fellowship happen? You all said yes. And that's an important thing for us to remember right now. You know, everyone in this room said yes. I want to thank the entire staff of the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Multicultural Affairs, and I really want to thank its leader, Dr. James Wimbush. Leadership starts at the top, and his obvious and clear set of values and his calm and constant commitment to those set of values have set a tone on this campus that is really important to our sense of who we are and our ability to live our values. So thank you to all of DEMA, and thank you to Dr. Wimbush for this beautiful event this morning. You know, we've had this leadership breakfast for some time, and each year we honor Dr. King, and we honor Dr. King because he forever changed our country. And the further away we get from Dr. King's presence in our day-to-day lives, the easier it is to lose sight of that. Dr. King changed our country forever, and he changed it for the better. He called upon all of us to be our very best selves, both as human beings and as citizens. As human beings, Dr. King told us that service to others is not optional. It's what makes us human. Even when it's bone-chillingly cold, as it is this morning, I'd like to offer an especially warm welcome to those of you, and it's many people in this room, who are committed today to making this a day of service. I know that many of you will be at the IU Unity Summit at Alumni Hall this afternoon, while also taking part in a very wide range of service projects around Bloomington and the larger community around Monroe County. I also know that the work that you do today is not one-off. Last semester, our students gave to our communities over 250,000 hours of volunteer hours. at an estimated value to our community of about $6 million. And that's a pretty stunning amount, and I know we weren't able to count it all. So I thank all of you who have heard Dr. King's call to service and make it real in your own lives day after day after day after day. And as citizens, Dr. King told us that engagement with each other is not optional. Democracies thrive when citizens are engaged with each other and with the tasks of governance, when they work for the inclusion of all in the fruits of the nation, when they expect and demand ethical and good faith leadership. Democracies die from darkness and cynicism and apathy. Dr. King's example on both of these fronts and his extraordinary example of courage in the face of darkness and cynicism and apathy is why over 50 years after his assassination, we still meet early in the morning to honor his life and to learn from it. We have a potent opportunity in this day to look back on the events of 1968 with the advantages of time and knowledge and careful thought. We can contemplate the mistakes and the injustices that led to the worst tragedies of that time. And we can consider what opportunities we have to avoid repeating similar mistakes and injustices in our own time. What better place than here, and what better time than now to do that work? Thank you so much for sharing your energy, your warmth, and your talents with the community today. And now it is my pleasure to welcome a leading member of our great community, Mayor John Hamilton. Mayor Hamilton has been a community leader here for many years. He's a graduate of IU Bloomington's Maurer School of Law. His career of public service has been distinguished by his efforts in areas that range from environmental stewardship through civil rights and economic justice. Before becoming our mayor, he served our state as secretary of the Indiana Family and Social Services Administration, overseeing Medicaid, welfare, and housing programs, as well as services for the elderly, disabled, mentally challenged, and at-risk children. He has also served the local community in so many ways that I can't even begin to outline them, but those include being a member of the Board of School Trustees for the Monroe County Community School Corporation, and as a founding member of the Shalom Community Center. Since his election, Mayor Hamilton and his administration have promoted social justice through affordable housing, wage growth, safety, inclusion, and civility and justice initiatives. I am so very pleased to have Mayor Hamilton with us this morning, and I'm very, very happy and thankful for the partnership we have with the city and the fact that so many people from the city come to this breakfast and so many members of the IU community go to the event this evening. Please join me in welcoming Mayor John Hamilton.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Provost Roble. A warm welcome on this day. It's a privilege to be here with you and Dr. Wimbush, the rest of the university community, along with our special guests, Tamika Catchings and Janae Nelson, with whom I will introduce to you very, very soon. On behalf of our city of Bloomington, all of us who live and work both inside and outside the limestone walls of campus, I bring greetings and a warm welcome this chilly day. I am honored, humbled, energized to be together with the hardworking, deeply caring people in this room who are working to realize Dr. King's dream every day. All of you who said yes to be here, thank you. Many holidays we celebrate by sharing a meal with a family, or giving gifts, marching in parades, singing, reminiscing. But there's something about Dr. King's legacy that makes this holiday different, unique. How does one preserve the legacy of a man who once stated that, quote, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? We celebrate Dr. King's birthday as a day on, not a day off. Dr. King's remarks inspire and inform the many acts of service and community building that will be performed today and every day across Bloomington. The hours spent training to assist survivors of domestic violence, reading to children, collecting books for those in the justice system, serving meals, washing dishes at a shelter. These and many other acts of service that we perform together, town and gown, embody our celebration of Dr. King. And the alliances we forge or renew on this day knit together the fabric of this community. These experiences bridge gaps, introduce us to those we might not otherwise meet, rekindle human dignity, and remind us how arbitrary the boundaries are between us. As Dr. King also said, quote, people fail to get along because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because they have not communicated with each other. Close quote. Among the many things the current partial federal government shutdown is illustrating are our interconnectedness and the tenuousness of our security. Far too many of us, including many federal workers, are just a paycheck or a government action away from food insecurity or homelessness. The bridges we build within our community on this day and throughout the year strengthen our safety net, yes, and also build the empathy and respect among us all that are so vital to our peace and our prosperity and our justice. I am fortunate and grateful to be mayor of a city that is a home to a university that recognizes those ties that bind us together and proceeds accordingly. As thoroughly as IU is lauded appropriately for its global ties to research institutions, students, scholars around the world, it is also deeply invested in this community and this region. Whether through the Center for Rural Engagement or Grand Challenges Initiative or myriad other efforts, this university is making serious efforts to tackle food insecurity, the opioid crisis, and job growth. IU also plays an invaluable role in stewarding the ethical climate of our community and our state. On this 33rd observance of Dr. King's birthday, we commend IU and President McRobbie for the endorsement of the governor's proposal to pass hate crime legislation in Indiana. Thank you. As one of only 5 states in the nation, as you know, without such an ordinance, it is past time for that action. After you go about your action today, and education and connection and other things, I invite you to join this evening in another tradition, the city's celebration of Dr. King's birthday. You heard Provost Roble mention in the Buskirk Chumley Theater, reception at 6, program at 7. We have performances by the Fairview Elementary School Choir, the IU African American Choral Ensemble. The program will also feature a keynote speech by a special guest who is also with us this morning, Janae Nelson, Associate Director Counsel of the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund, a frequently consulted expert on race, civil rights, constitutional law, and election law. In addition to her work with the NAACP LDF, a premier civil and human rights legal organization, Janae Nelson is one of the lead counsel in VC versus Abbott, federal challenge to Texas's voter ID law. Previously, Nelson was Associate Dean for Faculty Scholarship and Associate Director of the Brown Center for Civil Rights and Economic Development at St. John's University School of Law, where she was also a professor of law. Among her honors, Nelson has been named a Fulbright Scholar at the Legal Resources Center in Accra, Ghana, and one of Lawyers of Color's 50 under 50 minority professors making an impact in legal education. Please join me in welcoming on this 33rd observance our wonderful guest, and come see her tonight, Janae Nelson. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that warm welcome. Good morning, IU. Good morning, Bloomington. Thank you. When I walked in this room, I just felt an enormous energy, an enormous vibrancy that, frankly, I don't always see in the busy city of New York that I come from. And it was so heartwarming on this very chilly morning that many have already underscored, to see the presence of so many to come out and celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So thank you for all that you do. When I received this invitation from the city of Bloomington to keynote its address this evening, and I looked at the history of this city of Bloomington, that is surprisingly less than 1% African American, but has a 100% enthusiasm and support for recognizing the legacy and life of Dr. King. And I immediately said, yes, I want to see what this celebration is about. I want to meet these people, and I want to be part of this spirit that has driven this city to celebrate and embrace such a remarkable man. So I will be speaking this evening. I don't want to share everything that I will talk about, but I do want to give you a sense of where I am on this anniversary of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I've been thinking a lot about his words, and so many of them are incredibly inspirational, and so many of them give us a sense of hope and joy and accomplishment. But I think, as we know, when we look at where we are today, when Dr. Martin Luther King died, the civil rights movement had really just begun. There was still so much more work to do. Of course, there was the transformative legislation of the Fair Housing Act, of the Voting Rights Act, of the Civil Rights Act, and those laws, which is the currency in which I negotiate and try to advance justice in the world, those laws were powerful. They have been transformative. But if this moment in our history doesn't tell us anything, it should tell us of the impermanence of some of those gains if we don't guard them, if we don't protect them, if we don't, in the words of Dr. King, make real the promises of our democracy. Now, you may have heard that same phrase being used by your former governor over this weekend when he likened the president's actions to Dr. King's, and he said that he was making real the promises of democracy. I invite you to come hear me tonight to understand why I don't believe that that's the case. And really, to think about some of the lessons that we can draw from the words of Dr. King, some of the ways in which we can tell the story of that history and draw from that important legacy in a way that motivates us to do things that are better and bigger and more imaginative and more radical and more visionary than even our predecessors. That's the mantle we carry today, and we should not be locked into a vision of the past. We should stand on those shoulders and reach higher, because that is what Dr. King would want us to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson, for those very inspiring remarks. At this time, I am very thrilled to introduce Hushir for your enjoyment. Founded in 2006, Hushir is one of the premier a cappella groups on the IU Bloomington campus. In Hebrew, Hushir means he who sings, and the group has truly embraced this title, traveling around the state and the country to bring remarkable performances to a variety of audiences. These performances include an appearance at the White House in 2006, when Hushir performed for then-President George W. Bush at the White House Hanukkah party. Since then, the group has continued to create arousing a cappella renditions of everything from traditional Jewish songs to contemporary American and Israeli pop. And I had the privilege of hearing them provide songs of comfort and consolation as we mourn the death of those individuals who were victims of the tragedy in Pittsburgh. Made up of students from a variety of religious and academic backgrounds, Hushir is truly a reflection of the spirit of diversity and inclusion that we celebrate here at IU. Please join me in welcoming Hushir.
Sharpest words wanna cut me down. I'm gonna send a flood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apology. This is me.
Yeah. We are so honored to be here celebrating Dr. King and his legacy with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hoosier, for that wonderful musical performance. And I would like to note that they will be holding open auditions this Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Indiana Hillel Center. If you're interested in joining, they would love to hear from you. Please join me again in thanking Hoosier for this wonderful performance. At this time, I would like to introduce Laura Plummer, Director of the Scholarly Writing Program on the Bloomington campus and a member of the Building Bridges Awards Selection Committee. She'll be presenting the 2019 Building Bridges Awards. Please join me in welcoming my friend and colleague, Laura Plummer.
Good morning. And thank you, Dr. Wimbush, for your introduction. The question, what are you doing for others? It's persistent and important. And the individuals we're honoring today are exemplars whose actions answer Dr. King's simple yet challenging question. I'm delighted to announce this year's IU Bloomington Building Bridges Award honorees. The recipients of these awards are students, faculty, and staff who have embodied the vision, the spirit, and legacy of Dr. King through their commitment of time and talent and sheer hard work to our community here on campus and in Bloomington. First, however, I'd like to thank the Building Bridges Selection Committee that I work with, if I may. They are Heba Butt, Juan Cano, Brenda Diaz, Luis Fuentes Rohrer, Chandler Kelly, and Sylvia Martinez. I'd like to collectively thank them all for a difficult task scrutinizing the nominations and selecting people among a group who are really impressive and actually humbling in their accomplishments. I'd also like to recognize all of those nominees for the 2019 awards because the number and just sheer breadth of work that's being done in our community is heartwarming and just some of it is invisible unless we pull it out into the light, and so I'm glad to do that today. It's a great job to do this, and our panelists made some terrific selections, so let's get to it. Recipients, if you would, when I call your name, please stand up so that you are in the light. Guests, let's hold our applause until we've recognized everyone, just to keep things moving. Right. I'd like to begin with the undergraduate recipient of the Building Bridges Award, Mariama Ba. Is Mariama here? There she is. A 21st century scholar from Guinea, West Africa. Mariama understands the value of hard work and promotes inclusivity in all she does. As a flagship student ambassador, she represents the Arabic flagship program across campus to recruit students from different socioeconomic, racial, and ethnic backgrounds to the group. As a hijab-wearing Muslim woman, Mariama understands the need to raise awareness and tolerance among people of all religious backgrounds, and collectively works and collaborates widely in order to promote diversity and inclusion in the United States and worldwide. For example, she founded the organization Lend a Hand, through which she fundraised and collected donations for communities in Guinea. Furthermore, she participated in the Global Public Health Brigades, laboring to build latrines, create septic reservoirs, place pipes, all kinds of plumbing infrastructure for distribution of water in Nicaragua. She's a stalwart leader who has mobilized many to join her in this fight for equity. Thank you. The graduate student recipient of the Building Bridges Award is Trish Neighbor. Where's Trish? Oh, there you are. It's kind of her. From the beginning of her time at IU School of Public Health, Trish Neighbor has distinguished herself as a thoughtful, mature researcher and professional dedicated to improving access, defined broadly, for a range of individuals. She's been tireless in improving her peers' access to meaningful employment, working with the Office of Career Services in the School of Public Health for more than 2 years, delivering workshops on topics like writing effective resumes. I really appreciate that. Using LinkedIn profiles strategically and just understanding the job application process. Recently, she was recruited as a big sister for the Big Brother, Big Sisters program here in Bloomington. In the nonprofit world, Trish Neighbor is also focused on eliminating hunger. She's volunteered with the Area 10 Agency on Aging, working as an educator to improve access to nutritious food and health care by coordinating workshops targeting stress prevention and management, strategies for eating healthy, all focused on our aging community here. She's a regular volunteer at the Bloomington Community Kitchen and helps prepare and serve meals there. She has established a habit, I think we can say, of service that began in her formative years in Mauritius, endures here as she obtains her advanced degree at IU, and will clearly continue as she heads forward from here. Thank you. Our faculty recipient for the Building Bridges Award is Dr. Raquel Anderson. Dr. Anderson is a fierce advocate of the Latinx community and other vulnerable populations, both on and off campus. In the Department of Speech and Hearing Sciences, Dr. Anderson directs the STEPS program. It's a bilingual track that prepares students pursuing an MA in speech language pathology for working in both English and Spanish-speaking communities. STEPS also brings incoming students from underserved communities to campus for professional development, research opportunities, and mentoring workshops. Off campus, Dr. Anderson is as generous with her time as she volunteers at many local organizations. She's a volunteer at the Bloomington Animal Shelter and a foster parent. At Middleway House, Dr. Anderson is a crisis hotline volunteer and interprets for Spanish-speaking victims of domestic violence. At La Escuelita, a local program that organizes bilingual literacy activities for Latinx youth in Bloomington, she coordinates volunteers and helps with the curriculum, developing the program. Lastly, she is the current secretary of the executive board of El Centro Comunal Latino, a community-based organization that provides an accessible and safe space for Latina and Latino youth in our community. And as if that wasn't enough, Dr. Anderson is also one of a handful of Latinx full professors on campus. Thus, she serves as a role model for many students in this community, and she typifies the continuous struggle that brings change. Thank you for your service. And our last award is to the staff award person. The recipient this year is Christian Medina. I know where you're sitting. Christian's involvement in the Bloomington community is extensive. With El Centro Comunal, which you have heard about, he helps with interpreting, fundraising, and program development to expose Latinx children to STEM, the sciences and math, education. He's played a crucial role in El Centro's outreach and educational opportunities, which has included visits to the Indiana Geological Survey for middle school children to learn about the STEM fields. He's also organized a Latino film series and implemented computer classes in Spanish to make sure that limited English and low-income individuals have access to the technology they need to use to succeed. Christian, his contributions also include working at a local Latino radio station, radio show, to facilitate access for information on services in our community. He's organized a food co-op to deliver food to homeless individuals and founded a publishing company that uses recyclable materials. He also leads chess programs for local children to help them develop their skills not only in chess, but in patience and sportsmanship. along with a local carpenter and the City of Bloomington's Director for the Arts. Christiane also received a grant to build Bloomington's first parklet, a wooden sidewalk deck that offers space for the community to come together, reclaim public space, and spark conversation. All of our honorees have truly demonstrated through courageous and compassionate work that we can improve the lives of others. Not only have they furthered the causes of diversity and inclusion in our communities writ large, but by doing so, they have emulated the values we're here to celebrate today. Mariama, Trishni, Raquel, Christiane, if you'd stand one more time. I'd just like to say on behalf of everybody, we're better for having you in our lives and in our communities, and you have challenged us today to ask ourselves how we can do more for others. Please join me in applauding our Building Bridges Award winners. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura, and I'll add my congratulations to the honorees and certainly my thanks for all that you do to help make this a better university and community. It is now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, to welcome to the stage Carolyn Callaway Thomas, Chair of African American and African Diaspora Studies and Chair of the Bicentennial Lecture Series Committee. Please join me in welcoming Carolyn Callaway Thomas.
Good morning. Provost Roble, Vice President Wimbush, Mayor Hamilton, members of the IU faculty, students, staff, and citizens of Indiana. We are delighted that all of you have joined us for this important lecture today, which is part of IU's Bicentennial Lecture Series. As you know, IU will celebrate its bicentennial on January 20th, 2020. To commemorate this occasion, the university has developed a multi-campus program of projects and activities to recognize and chronicle our rich Hoosier history, showcase our significant contributions to the world, and set a course of action for our next century. Today's lecture has its roots in a long and distinguished history of outstanding speakers at Indiana University, including Maya Angelou, the Dalai Lama, and many others. So let us be mindful and look forward to other bicentennial events. But now, let us look forward to today's remaining pleasant activities. Chinua Achebe, one of Nigeria's greatest novelists, in discussing the resilience and resonance of culture wrote, "If you look at the world in terms of storytelling, it is the storyteller who makes us who and what we are, who creates history. The storyteller creates the memory that survivors must have, otherwise their surviving would have no meaning." This morning, in keeping with Indiana University's marvelous history of inviting invigorating speakers to campus, and in keeping with our emphasis on aspirational excellence, we are gathered in this special place, excited and eager to hear a most influential philanthropist, humanist, leader, and small business owner of Tease Me Cafe near Fall Creek Place in Indianapolis. We are eager to hear a phenomenal woman, Ms. Tamika Catchings, who began her outstanding career by spectacularly spinning basketballs with Indiana Fever team. A woman who has 1 league MVP, 4 Olympic gold medals, and 1 Women's National Basketball Association championship to her immeasurably enriched history of flourishing. In September 2016, on the eve of Ms. Catchings' retirement from the WNBA, Seth Berman, in a piece in the New York Times under the heading, "A Force on the Court, Tamika Catchings was a dynamo off it," also noted she was one of the league's 20 greatest players. But basketball was not to be the principal work of her life, because she knows there is more unfinished, equally fulfilling work to be done. And she is making things happen for the common good, the good that we share in common. As a storyteller who has looked keenly at the nation and at the state of Indiana and imagined the place of others in them, as a storyteller who holds and has held many appointments, our speaker, Ms. Tamika Catchings, has over her young career raised and addressed compelling questions about inequality, about bullying, and the treatment of individuals with hearing loss, and all in the tradition of embracing and performing Dr. King's beloved community. Under the auspices of her foundation, exquisitely and vividly phrased as "Catch the Stars," Ms. Catchings is using her splendid talents with warmth, kindness, and huge imagination to help others craft stories of success in the crucial areas of literacy, fitness, and youth development. This former 15-year player for the Indiana Fever and graduate of the University of Tennessee discovered joy, the appeal, and significance of helping others along the way as a teenager in Lincolnshire, Illinois. Her many impressive awards and positions include the Reynolds Society Achievement Award by the world-famous Massachusetts Eye and Ear Infirmary in Boston, the Don Stately Community Leadership Award, the Pacers Sports and Entertainment's Director of Player Programs and Franchise Development, and President of the Players Union of the WNBA. Terry Carmichael Jackson, a Director of Operations at the WNBA, once said, in commenting on the dignity and character of Ms. Catchings, "Tamika has a leadership style that is inclusive, that's committed to building consensus, and committed to diversity." Our speaker has 4 profoundly, intricately connected rules that elevate human beings, ones that she shares with so many young people, including members of the Boys and Girls Club and youth who attend her free basketball camps. But the rule that most captures the spirit and loveliness of our speaker is never say you can't. Members of the IU and Bloomington community, it is a great honor for me to present to you Ms. Tamika Catchings, who will deliver the bicentennial lecture this morning and King lecture. Please let us greet her warmly and enthusiastically. Thank you.
Growing up, like most kids, I remember sitting by the window and waiting for my dad to come home. You see, my dad used to travel a lot. He played in the NBA for 11 years. And I remember my brother and my sister and I sitting right by the window waiting for his car to pull up waiting for him to enter the house. And time after time, I remember my dad coming in, and like most kids, well, my dad's 6'10", so a little bit overwhelming as a little girl looking up at the strongest, bravest, most incredible man that I've ever met. The one thing that was different about my dad is though I watched him on the basketball court, he always had a scar on his leg. It was on the side of his leg, and I just assumed that it was from playing basketball. We've all dealt with injuries. We've all dealt with a lot. I don't know at what age it was when I finally asked my dad what had happened to his leg. And I don't even know if I had imagined the story that he told me, if I could have imagined that that was what it would be. But as I sat there in my dad's lap, and my dad told me the story, 1963, Jackson, Mississippi. You see, he was with his father, and they were headed down to the Capitol. They were part of a demonstration that Martin Luther King Jr. had sparked the world, fighting for equality, fighting for justice, fighting for the same opportunities that everybody should have. And so as my father was marching with his father, my grandfather, he said they were in the middle of the road, but as the crowd got bigger, they got pushed to the side. And as they were walking at first, well, as the crowd got bigger and they started racing, and he started getting further to the side, there was a metal piece that was hanging out of a car. And as they got pushed into the side of the car, my dad got a big gash down the side of his leg, something that will be there forever, reminding him of what he fought for. But the coolest thing is he was only 13 years old. 13 years old, marching, following Martin Luther King Jr., fighting for something that we still fight for, even to this day. The biggest, strongest, most amazing man in my life, my father, Harvey Catchings. As we sit here and we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. and for what he represents and has represented, it's been almost 51 years since his assassination. But yet we still, every single year, gather and collect to celebrate him, to celebrate his vision, his goal, the things that he wanted us to have. In the past couple weeks, I don't know how many times I've listened to the I Have a Dream speech. I don't know how many times I've talked to my dad about his experience. Because although I wasn't there, I'm still part of his journey. We're all still part of his legacy. We're all still fighting to have that American dream, the dream that he talked about and the dream that we continue to fight for. So one of the things that I like to do when I speak is I like to have a theme. So although we're here and I heard the word lecture, I am by no means a lecturer, okay? And I like to have fun. So this is going to be interactive because it is morning and I need everybody to stay awake. So we're gonna have fun. Are you guys ready to have some fun? Yes! So, are you ready for my theme? Okay, can I get a drum roll? So today, the title is Legacy Champion. See, we just had the college football championship. Does anybody remember who won? Not Tennessee, though, it doesn't matter. Oh, IU, I'm sorry. I'm in Indiana, my bad. But up next, we'll have the NFL champion, Super Bowl champion, and then we'll have an NBA champion and WNBA, and we'll have all these different champions. So I thought it only fitting that if we think about the legacy that Dr. King has left for us, that we're all a part of the legacy. But even more importantly, being a champion. Because if you look at it, the reality of it is when you're a champion, it's much more than just being a competitor. It's much more than just being in the game. There's a lot of different things that go with it. Well, my journey started when I was 3 years old. My mom and dad found out that I was born with a hearing disability. The story goes, I was sitting on the playground, my dad was yelling my name, and I couldn't hear him. And so they took me to get testing. My older brother, Kenyon, he has a hearing disability. Then my sister, Taja, and then there's me. And I always jokingly dubbed my sister the perfect one because everything about her is perfect. But as I went through my life and really going through the testing, learning that I had a hearing disability, my mom and dad really worried more so because not only was I a woman, an African-American woman, but now an African-American woman with a disability. What would my life bring and where would I be? I didn't really realize how different I was. Obviously, at 3 years old, big fat cheeks. Oh, she's so cute. But it really wasn't until my second grade year. Because we moved around a lot, my father played, like I said, in the NBA. We moved all around the U.S. And then he finished playing his playing career in Italy. But when we moved back to the U.S. in second grade, that was the first time that I realized how different I was. See, every single day I would walk through the doors of my school, I would get made fun of. I would get made fun of for the way that I looked. I would get made fun of for the way that I talked. But most importantly, I would get made fun of for the hearing aid that I had to wear around my ears. Because nobody understood in second grade. They didn't understand that you could be different. They didn't understand the big brown blocks that I had around my ears. And every single day I would walk through the doors, and every single day I was reminded of how different I was and how much I did not fit in. Well, I remember one day waking up and declaring that today would be a different day and that today would be a good day. And as I kept repeating that mantra in my head, today's going to be a good day, today's going to be a good day, every single step of the way, all the way to the front doors of the school. Because as soon as I walked to the other side, I got made fun of. And as you can imagine, my shoulders slouched, my head went down. A reminder that no matter how many times I tell myself today's going to be a good day, the fact remains that I didn't fit in and that today was not a good day. Well, I went through the rest of the day and continued to get made fun of. And remember on the walk home, my brother and my sister in front of me, I made a choice. Today is going to be a good day. And as we walked past the tall field of grass, I took one hearing aid out and put it in my hand. I took the other hearing aid out and put it in my hand. And I turned to that field of grass and I threw those hearing aids as far as I possibly could. Well, every single day when we would walk to the house, it was always the same routine. We always had snack. That was number one. Snacks are very important. And then we did our homework. And then we would go and do whatever sport we were involved in. Well, it was softball season. So we had snack. We did our homework. Mom packed us in the car and we went to softball practice. And I was that kid, that tomboy. See, I was the one that would compete in every single thing. I would even compete to be the dirtiest by the time we left the field. So I started out in left field, and yes, again, I am that one. I'm sorry, I know we probably might have some coaches in here, but I was that one. They put me in left field, and they tried to put me in a box, and that didn't work. Because I played left field, center field, and right field at the same time. Needless to say, some people got ran over, but it's okay. We all live. Well, I'm alive. That's all that matters. And then they moved me to catcher to try to contain me. So I would move over to the side a little bit and try to make my little catches. Got to make it look good. But after practice, my mom was looking at me. And she said, "There's something different about you." I don't know. "Young lady, You know how your mom's like, young lady, where are your hearing aids at? And I said, I don't know. And so we went to left field and center field and right field. First base, second base, third base, home plate. We lifted them up. Guess what? We didn't find them. So my mom packed us in the car. We went back home. And I was like, yes, I'm hungry. I'm ready for dinner. When we got home, my mom said, okay, everybody out. We're going to walk to school, and we're going to find these hearing aids. So we walked to school, and we walked back home. And we walked back to school, and we walked back home. And we didn't find them. And my mom sat me down, and she said, honey, your father and I cannot afford to buy you hearing aids every single time you lose them. So you're going to have to figure out how to live life without them. And as I sat there and I looked at her with those sad eyes, when I turned around, don't try that at home. Well, I learned really fast that the things that my mom and dad had provided for me were a way to help me live my life easier. But I had just thrown them away and gotten rid of them, and I would have to learn how to live life without them. So real fast, I learned 4 things. The first thing, I learned how to read lips. I would tell kids, I know what you're saying. I can read your lips. So they start talking like this. But I learned how to read lips. Secondly, I would sit in the front row of every single one of my classes. This is 2nd grade. I would sit in the front row of every single one of my classes. Third, before I went to class, the night before, I literally would read textbooks. I figured whatever I read, something that I read, the teacher would talk about. And then the 4th thing, I would stay after class and talk to every single one of my teachers. Because for me, it wasn't that I wasn't right there and that I couldn't read their lips. But those chalkboards that they used to make, they don't make them anymore. When the teacher would turn around and write on the board, the one thing I lost was their lips. So I'd have to fill in the blanks after class. Every single day. So for me, I believe that was really the first time for me, that seed of making change. Being able to have an impact, not just for my life, obviously it impacted me first and foremost, but being able to make change. So as we start thinking about today, we're going to talk about legacy champion. There's 8 things that I think it takes to be a champion. Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, so here we go. The first thing I think about before I even get into that, this just came to my mind. But when we think about legacy champion, I just thought, the champ is here. Okay? So I'm going to ask one more time, are you ready? And all I want you to say is, the champ is here. Okay? And then we'll get started. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Not loud enough. Not loud enough. Okay, we're going to try it one more time. Do I need to bring you to the stage? Could you lead us? No. He's like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Okay. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right. So some of these are going to be obvious, but I'm going to weave my life story into it. The first one is one goal. One goal. 7th grade, sitting in my room. I loved journals. I carry my journal with me everywhere I go. Sitting in my room, 7th grade, I take a piece of paper out and I write on it. I was so excited. I ripped my piece of paper and I ran down the hall to my brother and my sister's room. I said, hey, Kenyon, Taj, I know what I want to be when I grow up. And they're like, what? And I take my paper and I show it. Oh, man, this is so cool. Did you tell Mom? Did you tell Dad? tear my paper, run downstairs, boom, 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 boom. I got to make as much noise as I possibly can so they know I'm coming. And I say, Mom, Dad, I know what I want to be when I grow up. And I pull my paper and I try to straighten it straighter than a piece of paper could already be. And I showed it to them. One day, I will be in the NBA. One day, I will be in the NBA. So the cool thing is, obviously, how many of you guys have watched the Pacers NBA game? You can use your hands. Well, there's something different about me and them. Some of y'all will figure it out later, but it's okay. But I really believe that I could be in the NBA. And my mom and dad, some of you guys have heard this story, my mom and dad took that paper and they said, you know what, honey? If anyone can do it, you can. If anyone can do it, you can. And I took that piece of paper and I went upstairs and I put it on my mirror. And every single day when I woke up, I looked at my one goal. When we think about one goal, what is your one goal? For me, it was then my vision to be in the NBA. Well, you fast forward to my freshman year in college. Guess what happened? The WNBA came. That's when you say, ooh. We're going to try it again now. So my goal changed my freshman year in college. Guess what happened? No, not yet. Oh my gosh. How many of you guys are part of the staff? Teachers, professors? No. So guess what happened? The WNBA started. Ooh. They made a league just for me. Just for me. Gave them 4 years to get everything right, all the kinks out, let me graduate so I can go to the league. But my first goal, my first thing in being a champion is to have one goal. But then obviously when you have a goal, you need to prepare for it. So as I put that piece of paper up, I also had small goals that went along with it. One of my goals, obviously, it was the 7th grade, so one of my goals was to make it to my freshman year in high school. But as a freshman, I wanted to be on the varsity team. And I didn't want to just be on the varsity team, you know, just to be a freshman and say, oh, I'm on the varsity. I wanted to play. And so every day I would get up, I would go outside, I would shoot some basketball, I would shoot some hoop, come back in, take a shower, get ready for school, and go to school. During the summertime, I literally would get up about 7 o'clock, and I'd go to the court. And I would be there all day, every day. Because my goal was to be in the NBA. When you think about preparation, and you think about your own individual goals, and how do you prepare to reach your goals? It's cool because last night I had an opportunity to sit with some of your students and talk about some of the things that they wanted to be and where they thought they wanted to go one day. It's great to sit and talk about it, but it's a whole nother thing to write it down and plot out a plan. I do believe that even thinking about Martin Luther King Jr. and thinking about his goal and his vision and the I Have a Dream speech and all of the speeches that he had, and I think about my father being a part of that legacy, being prepared along the way, and the steps that it took to be able to reach his goal and reach his dream that we're still trying to reach. You have to be prepared. But then the next is hard work. How many of you guys like to work hard? A little cliche. Sometimes you don't realize how hard you're going to have to work to achieve your goal. And when you write down a plan, and you write down all the things that you've been through and all the ways that you think that you want to get there. Well, I said I wanted to be in the NBA and then the WNBA, but then I tore my ACL. My senior year in college. 3 months. And actually, I tore my ACL, and I'm just thinking about this, on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. My senior year in college in 2001. And when they wheeled me to the back and I was sitting on that table, immediately my first thought, I will never make it to the WNBA. I will never be able to play basketball again. And as I'm sitting there and we're all crying and my teammates come in and everybody's crying, and then Pat comes in and she sends them back to the locker room, and I'm sitting in that room by myself. And in that moment, I made a decision. This will not be the end. And I heard a voice. My faith is very important to me. I got you. I got you. And that's all I needed to hear. You see, we think things are going to come easy. And when you look at the legacy and you look at the path that Dr. King took for us, nothing came easy. But yet we sit here and we stand here and we go out and we do things and we have goals and we're prepared and we all have these paths that we're on. And as soon as adversity hits, the first thing we want to do is quit. We don't have time for that. I got you. Keep fighting. So we got one goal. We got be prepared. We got hard work. Oh, you're going to like this one. Are you ready? Yes. I'll answer myself. Be coachable. Oh. You guys didn't like that one. Okay, I got 3 people that liked it, 4 or 5. All right, we're getting there. Be coachable. Can I tell you about my first practice at the University of Tennessee? You want to hear it? Okay. One of my first drills, University of Tennessee, get there. This is coachable, be coachable. We're playing defense. Well, not to say I was a terrible defensive player, but I really liked offense way more than defense. So my sister and I played on the same team. She played defense, I played offense. She got the steals, I got the ball, and I scored. But when I got to Tennessee, she really emphasized defense. And so one of the first drills we did on the left side, everybody think about the left side, we all hopefully have seen a basketball court. If not, I advise when we get finished, go over to Assembly Hall and check it out. But on the left side, that's where we started. Offensive player, defensive player, coach in the middle. Our job was to defend and not let them catch the ball and then make sure they didn't score. So as I played defense, I got down in my defensive stance. I can't really do it. I wore the skirt. Next time I wear pants. But I got down in my defensive stance. And all of a sudden, Tamika! Get your butt down. Get your arms out. Butt down, arms out. Okay. And I got beat over and over and over again. Finally made a stop, went to the back of the line. I'm a little upset because up until that point, I really had never been told that I didn't play defense well, or that I didn't have a good defensive stance. So I got back to the front, got in my defensive stance. Tamika! Get your butt down, get your arm out. Butt down, arms out. I got beat over and over and over. Now I'm mad, okay? Before I was a little mad, now I'm really mad. And I get back to the end of the line, and I come back to the front. And then when I get up to the front of the line, Pat is all the way in the corner, back to the like she wasn't watching us, but we all swear she had eyes in the back of her head. And I got in my defensive stance, and all of a sudden, Tamika! What? And everybody was quiet. So we had open practice, so all of our fans would come and watch, especially the first practice. But I will never forget in that moment, thinking to myself, did I say that or did I think that? But as I looked at Pat and out of my peripheral looked at everybody else, you could see people in the stands like. So I said it. Get your butt down, get your arm out. Butt down, arms out, boom. And I got beat over and over and over again, but my heart was pounding as it is right now, like I'm in this moment. And she called me down to the bottom at the end of the basket underneath, and she would always stand behind the basket and have one leg up and be kind of crouched like that. She said, do I need to handle you with lace gloves? That was her way of saying, do I need to handle you like a girl? She hated when people said, you play like a girl, you do this like a girl. And I was like, no, ma'am, I'm good. Excuse me. Do I need to send you back to Duncanville, Texas? And I said, if you don't kill me, I know my mama's gonna kill me. So I'm gonna stay right here and get killed. Well, needless to say, we never really had a run-in like that again. Being coachable, that's my coachability. But honestly, if we all can go through different phases in our life and different times in our life, when people come in and try to help you and try to help coach you, how open to being coached are you? How coachable are you? I learned a lot in that moment. Maybe not so coachable. Maybe I wasn't that coachable. But as we look at our own journeys and we look at the places we want to go, there are going to be people that come into our lives. But that's what makes us who we are, and that's what helps make us better. So we're going to go through one goal: preparation, hard work, being coachable, always willing to learn. Always willing to learn. Being coachable and being able to learn, two totally different things in my mind. I look at life, I read a lot, I adventure a lot, I do a lot. Heard the young ladies talk about all the different things. But I learned really early, through getting made fun of, that if I ever wanted to escape the world, there was one thing that I could do. I could read. And so even to this day, the thing that I love to do is read and learn and learn and learn and learn. Because I will always say that I never want to stay the same person. I always want to be better tomorrow and the next day and the next day. So coachable and being able to learn, what are you doing to learn? What are you doing to step outside of yourself and be different? What are you doing to get to that next level? Never give up. Tore my Achilles, tore my ACL, tore my meniscus, broke my nose a couple times, broke a couple fingers, they don't look cute. Had a few teeth knocked out, but I've never given up. And when I think about Dr. King and his legacy, I think about my dad. Because even to this day, through all the phases of my life, that is one thing that I always say: I will never give up. I would never give up fighting for my teammates. I would never give up fighting for people like me with hearing disabilities. I would never give up from just being the best in every single thing that I can. All of us have the option And all of us have our own paths and our own thing. But going back to the adversity in the beginning, never give up. 3 years old, being born with a hearing disability. 7 years old, making my own goal. One day I'll play in the NBA. Senior year in college, tearing my ACL. All throughout my career, tearing everything else and doing everything else. But that passion and that seed that was planted in the beginning, to never give up, but to always stand out, that's what makes us different. That's what made his legacy what it is today. We all have something that pushes us. Whatever that is, whatever that looks like, find it. Because that seed that's planted and that thing that's in you, to never give up, that's what keeps you going. For me and my family, for my faith, for leaving a legacy, for being a champion, those are the things that keep me motivated. Those are the things that keep me going. The one goal, being prepared, hard work, coachable, willing to learn, never give up, and then impact. Impact. One goal and one thing that I've done for the last 4 years is every single day or every single year I start off the year with one word. So I think about, for one word, what is the thing that I want to focus on? Well, 2 years ago, my one word was impact. I-M-P-A-C-T. Somebody check that out and make sure I spelled it right. But impact. Yes. Every day, my job and my thing that I thought about, no matter who I come in contact with, I have a choice. You have a choice. You can impact that person in a positive way, or you can impact that person in a negative way. But for me, my goal was to impact every single person in a positive way. When you think about the legacy that you guys are creating, that we're all creating, every single day, we have a choice. When we wake up and we step outside of our house, our dorm, wherever, we have a choice in how we're going to leave and how we're going to change the world. Dr. King's legacy was just that, being able to impact every single person that he came in contact with. We all said that we want to be a legacy champion, and we're all on our path of being our own champion. There is no right or wrong path, but the one thing is, you have to have an impact. Because along with impact is a multiplied vision. You see, what you aim to be and whatever your goal is and whatever impact that you make, it can't just be for you individually. It has to be about a multiplied vision. His vision was, I have a dream to change our world. One person at a time, one situation at a time. But that one day we would all be able to sit in rooms like this, all of us together. And while I wasn't there, where Martin Luther King Jr. was preaching and giving speeches and all of that, while I wasn't there, because of his vision, because of his impact, because of the things that he believed in, I'm a part of the legacy that he created. Every single one of us is part of that legacy. And one of the conversations that I've had with my father, one of the things, he does a lot of speaking, and one of the things he asked me was, if Martin Luther King Jr. was never born or had never stepped outside of himself to make change and to create impact and to leave the legacy that if he had never done that, what would our world be like today? And that's the question we can all ask. What would our world be like today if it wasn't for the impact and the vision and the goal and all the things that he set out to do? But now I'm going to change it to being a legacy champion right here in this room. You see, we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day and sometimes week. But how do we remain consistent as legacy champion, not just for one day, but 365 days? How do we leave our impact? How do we have a goal? But even more importantly, how does our vision create an opportunity, not just for ourselves, but more importantly for others around us? Each one of us has that, and each one of us has an opportunity to celebrate that. So when we think about legacy champion, and I gave you guys eight words, sorry, wake up. Think about 8 words. If you go back, each one of them is spelled out the acronym for champion. Champion. And if you took notes, you'll be able to figure out what that is. But one thing that I want to do as we're thinking about champions, a couple of days ago, I had the opportunity to go to an award dinner. Unbeknownst to me, Mr. James Wimbush was nominated. Super cool. But the main title was Champions of Diversity. So to go from champions and go to an award banquet that honored champion of diversity. And for my first time, I talked to him on the phone a couple days before that, had never seen him, and had the privilege of meeting Dr. Wimbush. How cool that right here on this campus, you have somebody that is honored for being a champion, for having a vision when he came way back when, not that long ago. But the young lady talked about it. We have less than 1% of African Americans in this community. And at this university, we have 24.1% African American. A goal, a plan, being prepared, being coachable, never giving up, hard work, multiply vision. That's what that young man had done. But it can't just be one person. It hasn't just been one person. It's been a group of people. And that's what we're all here to do. I read this once, but right now, just hypothetically, if you have 300 people, I have to read this. If you have 300 people in the room, and each one of us impacts 5 people, just 5. Think about all the people you meet, and all I'm asking is if you impact 5 people, in 5 years, we will have impacted 937,500 people. If you impact 5 people today, and they impact 5 more, and they impact 5 more, and they impact 5 more, 937,500 people. I don't know about you, but I'm committed. I'm committed to make a change. I'm committed to be a part of the legacy that he created. I'm committed to be a legacy champion. Now my question is, are you? Are you committed to be a champion, to have a goal, to set out on that goal, and for that vision to be multiplied? I think we can do it. So before I go, I know I'm running out of time, but I'd be remiss. I didn't get permission for this, so I'm sorry. But I have 2 young ladies that I want to bring to the stage. We had an event last night, as I said earlier, and at the end, I asked some of the students, who in here has talent? Who has talent? I'm like, okay, you got to get beyond your fear, and you have to come to the front. I had just met these young ladies. They're sisters. They're twins. Sierra and Sierra, come on up. Come on up. So I had just met them. They came up to the front. And although they came up to the front, one of them acted like she was too shy to do something. But we had a nice little mix. We had a little bebop. Yeah, we had a little bebopping. We had spoken word. We had a little bit of everything. A couple people singing. Come on up, ladies. Come on. Don't be shy now. No. So the one thing in being a champion for all of this, and the one thing in looking at Dr. King's legacy in his life, is the word that I have on my chest. You can't do anything without love. We all need a little bit of love in our lives. And so I'm going to sit down in a minute. No, I'm not. I'm going to stand here with them. I told them I would sing with them, so I'm going to sing with them. Cover your ears. But these young ladies are going to sing a little bit of one of the best songs in the world. Are you ready for this? Are you ready? The champ is here. Come on, ladies. There we go.
All right. There are times I find it hard to sleep at night. We are living through such crazy times. And when a child reaches out for someone to hold for one moment, they become my own. And how can I pretend that I don't know what's going on when every second and every minute another soul is gone? And I believe that in my life I will see, oh yeah, and into hopelessness or giving up or suffering. Can we all stand together just one time, and we will all be fine? Can we just stand up? Can we all stand together just one time, and we will just be fine? Can we stand up for love and stand up for love?
Oh, yeah! We are going down with that. We are going, thank you.
Tamika, thank you so much. You have inspired us with your wonderful message, but you also brought two of our group students who also sing in our African American choral ensemble, Tiara and Sierra. Thank you so much for sharing with us your wonderful, wonderful musical talent. What a great day this has been. Ms. Catchings, she will be signing copies of her autobiography. You can learn more about her background. Her autobiography is entitled Catch a Star, Shining Through Adversity to Become a Champion, and she'll be signing those in the East Lounge. And again, we're very thankful to the Bicentennial Lecture Series for making available Tamika speaking this morning. Just a few housekeeping things before we go. First of all, I just wanted to remind you that this is the first of many activities today. If you go to the website mlkcelebration.indiana.edu, you will see a long list of wonderful events happening throughout the day. And of course, later this evening at 7 o'clock with the reception starting at 6, I know you will want to hear Miss Janae Nelson. She has already teased us, and she has an inspiring message to bring later today. I also want you to know that the nominations are now open for the 2020 Building Bridges Awards. The nominations are open throughout the year, and you can visit our MLK Day site to be able to learn more about it. And I also want to remind the winners, the nominators, the nominees, and selection committee of this year's awards to meet at the front of the stage after this program for photos. And finally, as has become a tradition for us, we will all sing together, We Shall Overcome, led by Marcus Simmons and accompanied by Alonzo Lawrence, who are both doctoral students of vocal performance at the Jacobs School of Music. And before I leave the stage, I just want to thank you again for being here. Thank you, Provost Roble and members of the university and campus senior leadership. Thank you to Mayor Hamilton, and we have several members of the city government who are here. We have many individuals from the community, and though he's not just a member of the community, he's also one of us. Charlie Nelms, former vice president of Indiana University and former chancellor at North Carolina Central University, and to all of our faculty, our staff, to Hoosier. Thank you all for being here for this wonderful celebration. I'll just add that, again, Ms. Catchings is going to be signing copies of her book. You will want to get the book because you will want to read her story. But she's also being hosted for lunch with students by Vice President and Athletics Director Fred Glass. Fred, thank you for being here and for hosting us a little later this afternoon. So again, thank you all for being here. And now, Marcus and Alonzo, please stand as we sing, We Shall Overcome.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we'll walk hand in hand someday. We shall live in peace. We shall